Today, we begin our presidential candidates debates. Two political figures will present their vision for Ghana as they contest for the highest office of the land. First, we have Hassan Ayariga, leader of the All People's Congress. Ayariga entered the political arena back in 2012 as the presidential candidate for the People's National Convention, PNC. In 2016, he founded APC, seeking to carve a new path in Ghanaian politics. During the 2020 election, Ayariga ran as the APC's flag bearer, but secured 7,138 votes, representing 0.054% of the total votes cast. Undeterred by this, he remains focused on economic transformation with a strong belief in industrialization as the key to creating jobs and self-sufficiency for Ghana. Next, we have Kofi Akpaloo, leader of the Liberal Party of Ghana. Kofi Akpaloo has been in the race for a while, and he has been an active player in Ghanaian politics for over a decade, consistently advocating for bold economic reforms and technological advancement. In the 2020 election, Akpaloo and his LPG received 7,683 votes, accounting for 0.059% of the total votes cast. Despite the numbers, Akpaloo stayed true to his vision, centered around creating a free universal income for Ghanaians. Today, both leaders will go head-to-head on issues that matter most to Ghanaians, from the economy to job creation, from tackling our debt to securing our environment. This debate isn't just about words. It is about ideas that will shape our future. Now to the debate format. This debate will run for the next 40 minutes. For the first 30 minutes, we'll have direct interaction with the candidates, answering questions on key issues and engaging with one another. 10 minutes has been reserved for the audience, where candidates will address questions from you, the people of Ghana. Well, we have rules for engagement on the show, and each candidate will have 3 minutes to respond to each question. Our producers will be monitoring the time, so they have just 3 minutes to make their point and convince you, the voter. Now, there will be no personal attacks or unverified claims on this show. Our research team is on standby, and they will be fact-checking every claim. Now, candidates must offer concrete solutions to the problems that we face. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for your time here on NewsDesk. So I'll start with the economy, because that's quite key for most young people. Like many countries, external shocks and internal mismanagement has affected Ghana's economic growth. So I'm quite interested. What is your strategy for stabilizing and growing the economy? I'll start with you, Kofi Akpaloo.
Oh, okay. My strategy is very simple. We have this plan that we are going to rescue Ghana. What we're going to do is that we are going to pump money into the economy to generate demand activities, so that whatever you are selling, people will have money to buy, and then you'll be able to produce more and engage the service of other people so that they will get jobs. The strategy is very simple. In the first 1 week of my government, I'm going to issue a fiat to give poultry farmers in this country $500 million equivalent to start producing poultry instead of importing them. We want to cut down on importation. We are also going to pump additional $500 million in cedi equivalent to our rice growers to enable them to produce enough rice. Because the strategy is that after 6 months in government, we are not going to import. We are going to ban importation of rice and importation of poultry. It's going to be home-based, homegrown based. And then another strategy is that we want to mobilize Ghanaians everywhere to come together, to pool resources together, to start controlling our natural resources. All these years, we've been giving our natural resources to foreigners. So foreigners have been controlling our resources. Gold is being controlled by Newmont, Anglo Gold, Goldfields, and the rest. If you take the oil, it's Tala Oil, Anadaco, Cosmos Energy. The way we are going with this direction, we are going nowhere. We need to come back home, and to do that, we want to mobilize resources among ourselves so that we can invest our monies together to, where we don't have the expertise, we can now engage the services of other people from somewhere so that we pay them for their services, not to dash our resources to them. So resources like bauxite, lucky for us as a country, we have VACO. We are going to build a refinery to add value to our bauxite so that we can produce alumina to feed VACO. And VACO will turn it into aluminium. And then we'll build a extrusion plant so that we can now start producing everything that we use aluminium for. The same thing applies to manganese. The same thing applies to lithium and the rest. All our natural resources, we want to own it, control it, instead of dashing it to foreigners.
I have 1 more minute for you before I would have to ask a follow-up question. Where do you plan to get this $500 million from?
Yeah, the monies are no problem, and it can never be a problem.
Where would you get it from?
Yeah, the monies are sitting at the Bank of Ghana.
Time is up. Let me come to you, Hassan Ayariga. How do you plan to stabilize our economy?
Our economy is an import-dependent economy. We import almost everything to this country, and thereby putting too much pressure on our Ghanaian city and losing a lot of jobs. Our country we are centered on 7 key thematic areas: globalization, modernization, commercialization, digitalization. We believe that if this country has to grow, first of all, we need to begin to be a production hub. We have to produce what we eat and consume what we produce, so that our youth will now know that this is the country they must all protect. So first of all, we need to make sure that we change our mindset. The Ghanaian people must change our mindset in beginning to build their own. And in doing that, we need to have a national data system, a data system that will enroll and capture every Ghanaian citizen, so that we are able to track the information and be able to be efficient in our dealings of building Ghana. So first of all, production, we have to grow, produce enough oil. We don't have to import oil anymore. We don't have to import cooking ingredients anymore. We don't have to be importing crude. We have crude here, finished product. We have crude here, and we are exporting it and importing crude. So we can grow our economy when we are import-dependent nation. So we must be a production manufacturing hub and industrial hub. This will help us sustain our economy and become economically independent. And when we are able to grow and produce, I intend to have a free port. A free port in the sense that we import essential goods, raw materials to feed our production industry, our manufacturing industry, and our industrial hub, so that we begin to become a country that is economically independent. We are not economically independent. We borrow so much, and we have to stop borrowing, because the borrowing is a problem. Look, we have given the mining sector out to foreigners. Meanwhile, we can create revenue from mining proceeds. We are taking just 10% royalties on mining. Why are we not, as a state, why are we not mining? So I will bind mining in all capacity, from large scale to galamsey, and make the Ghanaian economy. The government of Ghana must begin to mine its own resources. So we mine in Ghana as a state, create jobs, and have enough revenue. We will drill as Ghanaians, as the state, get enough oil, crude, and put refineries.
What then happened to legitimate companies, small-scale miners, registered and paying tax to government?
I mean, if you value the amount of money these kind of galamseys and small scales are mining and paying the tax, what is the royalties that they pay to Ghana is like 10% of what they get. The state must own its resources. So what we do is that we will cancel all mining agreement to everybody, including large scale, small scale, and medium scale, so that our country will take control of our resources. We need to have gold reserve. We need to have workers that we can train. So under the policy of canceling all the mining industries, we are going to institute another kind of training that will integrate all these mining workers into the government mining policy. So these workers now will be paid by the government, so that resources that we get from the mining sector cannot be given to foreigners, and they're taking the money out and giving us only the debris and the challenges we are facing today, the water bodies, the...
Time is up. Mr. Hassan Ayariga. Now, if you are watching, you can send your questions, your comments, and we'll be taking it here live on the Joe News channel. Now, let's talk about the next key question. The provisional total central government debt as at the end of June 2024 stood at 742.0 billion Ghana cedis. Now, this is equivalent to 70.6% of Ghana's GDP. I'm quite curious, how will you manage the national debt without derailing development? I'll go to you, Kofi Akpaloo.
Yeah, this amount involved is peanut. 742 billion cedis.
Yeah.
Yeah, when equivalent of
70.6% of our GDP.
Yeah, so when you bring it to dollars, it will be about $50 billion. Yeah, so it's peanut. It's not money. It's not money that we should worry ourselves as a people, because we'll be able to generate more than that if we do our things right. You see, our concentration has been on that. Oh, we owe so much, we owe so much. So if you listen to all the other competitors, they are saying that when they come, they will not borrow, they will not borrow. They don't understand borrowing, okay? When you run a business, we have what we call leveraging. Smaller equity, higher debt. You don't run business with equity because equity is very expensive. You have to use debt. Now, what you borrow money for is the most important thing. What are you borrowing the money to do? If you borrow money to spend, you are wasting the money. But when you borrow to invest, you make something out of it. Assuming you borrow $10 billion and you invest in the production of aluminium, in the production of, let's say, lithium. You are producing lithium, you are adding value to them. Your oil, you are producing, you are adding value to them. Your cocoa beans, you are adding value to them. When you borrow to invest in that direction, the returns will come to pay off the debt, okay? But when you borrow to spend, nothing will come back, and then it will be a waste. So I've been hearing MPP, NDC, all the other, even my brother APC, they are all saying that when they come, they will not borrow. What are you coming to do? You see, you have to come and add value to our natural resources. Take control. But you need money to do that. So you have to borrow, invest, and then add value and turn it around and make money. It's like I give you $1 million right now in the form of a loan. Take this, start a small business. That business will generate something. If you do it well, it will generate something. And then you pay back the money to me, and then you have a business. So there's nothing wrong when you borrow to invest. But when you borrow and you spend the money unnecessary, that is where it becomes a waste. So we are going to borrow money to invest in the economy, to create jobs and to create wealth for Ghanaians. We have a plan to set up a $10 billion job fund so that our young people who are coming from universities and polytechnics will be given the needed support to start their own businesses here, right here. Because our checks shows us that if you go to America or you go to Europe, you see all the big businesses that you see around, all started by young people. Take Microsoft, Bill Gates started when he was 19. Take Apple Corporation, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak started when they were both 21 and 24. Even all the big companies you can think of, they started by young people. Even the machine that you are using right now, the computer here, is a Dell computers. The one who started it was Michael Dell when he was 19 years at university. So we believe that the chunk of our young people in Ghana here, they have brains, they have what it takes to do something. So our plan is that we're going to borrow money and invest in their ideas to enable them to bring the best out of them.
Let me come to you, Hassan Ayariga. How do you plan to ensure that you manage Ghana's national debt?
First of all, in managing the Ghana national debt, what it means is that we have over 670 billion debt, and we are unable to pay. And because we are unable to pay, you remember the haircuts that the Ghanaians have to go through. Now, the point is that there's been so much corruption in this country and we state of our resources. That is why you borrow and you're unable to pay back. Borrowing means that you take money in order to invest in certain key economic sectors that will give you back the returns for you to pay. Under my leadership, don't be borrowing. Don't be borrowing because I have to, first of all, find a way of managing what we have borrowed so far. and by paying it back. So what I intend to do is to reclaim back our natural resources and mineral resources from foreigners. That is number one. Once we reclaim it and the Ghana government take control of it, we are going to increase revenue and productivity in our country. And when we are able to increase too much revenue and productivity in the country, we have enough resources to be able to maintain this country, manage this country well, and start paying our debt stock bit by bit. And don't forget, if President Mahama becomes president, our debt stock will not be cancelled. If Bawumia becomes president, our debt stock will not be cancelled. Hassan Ayariga becoming president, I will renegotiate with our debtors to be able to cancel off some of the debts we're having, because this is a new person, new government, new leader that is coming on board who wants to build his country and want to be free of debt. The only person who goes to borrow is the one who does not have economic knowledge and basic knowledge of running a business. My whole life, as a businessman, I've never borrowed. My life as a father, I've never borrowed. My life as a young man, I've never borrowed. My life as a student, I've borrowed. So my life as president, I will not borrow. So I will continue to invest in our productivity, in our production, manufacturing, and industrial hub, to be able to create more jobs and more opportunities for our young men, so that we get enough revenue and taxes from our oil industry, from our marketing, manufacturing industry, from our production industry, from revenue coming from the ports and other things, so that we can sustain our economy and pay back the debt slowly. That is very important and key to us as a country. We cannot continue to borrow for wastage. We are borrowing for mismanagement. We are borrowing for consumption. We are borrowing for corruption. Borrowing is a canker for Ghanaian citizens. As of now, every Ghanaian owns over 100,000 Ghana cedis. So I'll put up a debt recovery fund where Ghanaians, workers, and society will be able to pay back willingly those who want to pay back their debts, because everybody is owing over 100,000 Ghana cedis. So under the APC, we have debt recovery restructuring fund, so that we are able to pay our debts.
Time up. Now, let's shift our attention to another key issue, the environment. The Ghana Water Company served notice that Ghana may be forced to import water in future, as they now spend 3 times the amount they would in purifying water. And that's the ripple effect of illegal mining. I'm curious, how do you plan to fight illegal mining? I'll come to you, Kofi Akpaloo.
Okay. Yeah, it's very simple. When I become president, I know from Minerals Commission database that currently we have over 3 million small-scale miners, the galamseyers, and thousands of small, medium-sized companies. When I become president, I'm going to bring all these people together collectively to put their resources together. Whatever each person has, put here, and then let's see how much you'll be able to raise. If there are 3 million people and they each bring $1,000 each, it's $3 billion. Then I'll give them licenses to run a large-scale mining, like Anglo Gold and Goldfields are doing, so that they will do a responsible mining. I'm not going to drive them away like the way we are doing now. No, the way we are doing it will not solve any problem. But to solve the problem, let's bring our people together, let them form a large-scale mining owned by them, so that they can employ their own directors who will be doing a responsible mining, and the environment will be clean, because you can hold people accountable. Now, when you do that, I don't even support that small-scale mining. I want them to come together and put their resources together to build a large-scale mining. Because when you go to a forest, like, for instance, you see each small-scale miner having different number of excavators. But when you put them together, they will not have that number of excavators in there. When you go to Newmont site, they don't have that quantity of excavators that our small-scale miners are owning. So that's what we are going to do. And then this one, we can have a responsible mining, and then everything that will be generated here will stay in this country and it will not go anywhere. And Ghana government will not buy from them in cities, and then we add value to them in return.
Let me come to Hassan Ayariga. You have served notice that you would ban all forms of mining. Expatiate on that for us.
Yes. Illegal mining causes a lot of destruction to our water bodies, our farmlands, our cocoa trees, and then our health. Government upon government have decided to look a blind eye on it. because they believe that people who are doing illegal mining are voters of this country and will not vote for them. How I intend to make sure that we have clean water, save life, and then have a decent economy and a land degradation. First of all, I am going to ban large-scale mining, small-scale mining, galamsey. Mining is the only country, the only institution mandated to mine or mandate to mine under my leadership will be the government of Ghana. The government of Ghana he owns the property in terms of natural resources and mineral resources. So when we ban small-scale, large-scale, and medium-scale mining, we'll do auditing into the mining sector to find out those institutions that have destroyed our water bodies and make sure that they pay huge royalties now to the government of Ghana. And then completely stop them from mining, review the mining agreement and licenses to make the only person to mine to be the state of Ghana so that we can get gold reserve. Over the years, in the 1960s, Ghana used to have what is called gold reserve. We were called the Gold Coast. Some people among us started bringing Newmont, Anglican gold to come and be PPP in this country to take our gold and give us and leave us with
Hassan,
waste.
Ayariga.
1 second, and leave us with waste. I do not intend to lose lives anymore because of some interest of some people. So the state will take it, mine responsibly, and make sure that the laws are protected, the mining rules are regulated, and Ghanaians, galamsey young men and women will be workers of the mining industry.
Well, let's move to another sector, something very key, the agricultural sector. Government has been compelled to ban the export of locally grown rice, maize and cereals as a result of the impact of dry spell, which has affected harvests in parts of the country, which I'm sure you have been following. How will you revitalize agriculture to ensure food security and create jobs for the youth? I'll start with Kofi Akpaloo.
I think in my earlier statement, I said that when I become president, I'm going to invest at least $1 billion equivalent into rice production and poultry production. We want to be food sufficient, okay? We don't want to rely on importation. I don't believe in those importing.
Okay.
So we're going to produce everything here. But it will not end there. There are other products that we need to produce them. Cotton, for instance. We're going to invest in cotton production. We are going to invest in silk production. We are going to import in piggery, a whole lot. Meat production is something that we're going to invest more money in because we want people to have protein and everything here. So, and then also adding value to them. Because when you are able to add value, especially like fruits, for instance, oranges, mangoes, and the rest, we should be able to produce more and add value to them. So basically, LPG government is going to focus on what? Fish production, invest in fish production. We are going to invest in poultry. We are going to invest in maize production because once we are producing
you
more
have to be listening to the questions.
We are going to make sure
Hassan Ayariga wants to interject. I'll let him come in shortly.
So Kofi has to be listening to the questions.
He has the floor right now. You have to let him speak.
We have to make sure we invest in that. I don't believe in importation. I don't believe in that. I believe that we should be able to, the more we are able to produce those things, we are creating jobs. That is why our manifesto is what? A better tomorrow. A new plan for jobs and wealth creation. Everything that we are going to do, the end results should create jobs and create wealth.
Let me ask a follow-up question. If you would be banning all forms of import, how then do you hope to bridge the gap in terms of production? Because if you're banning import of food items like poultry and what have not, it means you would have to then feed the Ghanaian population. Exactly. Do we have enough to feed the Ghanaian population? If yes, how do you plan to bridge this gap?
Yes, let's take poultry, for instance. In my first 6 months in government, the plan is that you're going to give $500 million to some selected poultry farmers. Take a poultry farm like Dako Farms, Mankwazi, Farms, Infum Farms, and all those farms. We give them the needed resources. They'll be able to produce in large volumes. And remember, when you produce in large volumes, the economies of scale set in. So the cost of production become cheaper. And then instead of you importing from Turkey, maybe send money to Turkey and it will take you 5 months before your goods are delivered to you. Why don't you direct your money to Dako Farms so that Dako Farms produce that quantity for you? And it will create jobs for our young men and women who are there.
Time is up. I have a follow-up question on how you plan to raise this 500 million, which is, you've made mention of it, and the Bank of Ghana printing that money. We spend cedis in Ghana. So I would like to find out, how do you plan to raise this money?
You know, the monies are already sitting at the Bank of Ghana.
So they'll print dollars for you?
No, I don't need dollars. I say, I gave you dollar in the cedi equivalent. So we are going to use cedis to do everything. I'm going to center everything cedi.
So the Bank of Ghana will just sit down, print money for you?
No, let me tell you. Let me tell you. When you say printing of money, there are different forms of printing of money. You can have an account. Take Microsoft for this, what do you call them, MTN. They do Momo. You can use your phone. If you have money on it, e-cash, you can buy something. So money has been printed, money has been created. So money is not always...
So please make your point.
Money is not always the papers that you see, the papers or the coins. Money comes in many forms.
And we have to wrap up the conversation. Let me come to Hassan Ayariga. The same question. How do you plan to revitalize agriculture?
You see, our problem has always been the period of famine. We have very short period of famine, and we have issue of climate change that is affecting our products and our produce. We have an issue of seedlings, that we are not improving upon our seedlings. We have an issue of farm inputs and farm equipment. So under my leadership, how I intend to increase the productivities in this country is that I will roll another policy in the educational sector where I will allow youth in agriculture, train them and give them the best technical and skill knowledge into the farming in the agri-products. Then we begin to produce our local rice, which is called the parboiled rice, which is very effective and very nutritional. We have to begin to adapt new mechanisms of farming, which include good chemical pesticides that can be used to spray our farms against insects. We have to introduce more farming equipment and machinery to help in the productive sector. We have to invent irrigational systems that we do all year-round farming, so that we don't farm just within the period of rainy season. We have to use the water bodies, that is the rivers that we are, when anytime the Bagre dams open, the White Volta and all this thing, preserve them in a way that we can do proper irrigation from the north down to the south. And we also have to do soil studies into the sector in every country and every region, so that we know which region can grow what. Whether Volta region, they can grow pepper. Ashanti region, probably they can grow palm oil or something. A northern region, they can grow yams. So we also change our consumption pattern, stop the importation of local rice that we can produce, and produce what we consume and consume what we produce. We will invest so much funds, enough funds, into the agri sector to make sure that machineries, equipments, mechanisms are improved. And when these systems are improved, the agriculture sector will revamp, and we can now export. That is when we add value to our production hub, our manufacturing hub, so that our production hub will have enough raw materials to feed the manufacturing hub, and the manufacturing hub will have enough raw materials to help in the industrial hub.
And we have just 5 minutes to wrap up the whole conversation. I would give you 1 minute each to wrap up, and I'll take this question from one of our audience. They want to find out, how will you reshape Ghana's educational system to equip young Ghanaians for the future, especially with the introduction of artificial intelligence? Now, you have 1 minute each to answer this question, and we'll wrap up the debate.
Yeah, our educational system is going to be hands-on learning. Everything is going to be practical. We are going to learn by playing, learn from the basic. The primary school is going to be play. So everything that we're going to learn, if it's mathematics, is going to be hands-on. Everything.
And you?
We'll change the curriculum of education to train our students and our young men to fit into our needs of the 21st century. We're educating Ghanaian students with just writing exams and passing exams and not being creative and innovative. So we'll re-enhance the STEM studies, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, in order to fit into the society. The issue of artificial intelligence is making our students weak and weaker. They are not writing the proper thesis they want. They send it out to the computer, and the computer helps them to write. We have to change basic educational standard from the primary level to the tertiary education, and we are going to make it free so that Ghanaian students will not suffer in learning, in studying, and then the teachers too will support them with enough housing support loans so that they also feel free when they are teaching, because the teachers are suffering when it comes to housing, accommodation, they do not have. So you cannot just look at the education without looking at those who give talent to them. So we have to change the skill training and also add value to our educational sector.
My guest in the studio, Dr. Hassan Ayariga, flag bearer for APC, as well as LPG's Kofi Akpaloo. They have been sharing their thoughts, their ideas, how they plan to reshape the economy. And this is what we're going to be doing every Tuesday here on the Joy News channel, bringing out your presidential candidates to ask key questions on some of the issues that you have raised. My name is Faustina Safo. Good morning.